Imagine a future without programmers. Is that what this no-code movement is all about? Should we just give up now and surrender to our no-code overlords? These tools that make us build and drag things around and connect them with lines and dots to make and form a new application. Should you even learn to code? This is a special Halloween episode of Always Be Coding, and we're going to explore the no-code so-called movement.
First, to answer my own question, yes, of course you should learn to code. If you want to, that is. It's not going away anytime soon. And let's explore why. Recently I tweeted a cheeky post that basically said this: Ugh, now I feel like I have to write 10,000 words on why no code isn't actually a thing. And to be clear, by a thing, I meant a thing in quotes, as in not a new thing. And I quickly fixed that. Of course, Twitter is a no-edit platform, so I had to reply to myself. But before I could, the CEO of Webflow, which is a popular no-code application, retweeted me and said simply, "Don't waste your time, David." Now, I don't know the CEO of Webflow. I've never talked to him, but I can understand why he might have reacted in that way. And actually, I was kind of taken aback a little bit, but then I realized I probably should have said not a new thing. And I'm sure he hopefully would have agreed. But by then, of course, a little Twitter fight ensued, and that's what happens on Twitter, so what are you gonna do? But still, I thought about this a little bit, and I was thinking, well, is it actually a new thing, and how new is it, and what, is it becoming more popular? So I went to Wikipedia just to look up, some sort of definition. And according to Wikipedia, no-code platform NCDPs allow programmers and non-programmers to create application software through graphical user interfaces and configuration instead of traditional computer programming. Well, that sounds pretty broad and also quite familiar as well. I mean, there's all kinds of tools that do just that. I mean, Excel is probably a perfect example. I would even say things like Dreamweaver from back in the day, or Front Page, or Flash, or anything that allows you to kind of put something together without writing any code and to build something new. And then there's a bunch of tools today, like Webflow, as I mentioned, or Squarespace, or even Airtable, and a whole bunch that do this very thing. And I think we're just seeing really like a shift from these older tools that we're familiar with to the browser and making them more accessible. So if you really think about the difference, you're talking about the difference between declarative building and imperative programming. And declarative, of course, is you're declaring something to be displayed to the end user. You're using something that someone else had already built and stringing these things together to show something. I mean, for example, this is how HTML works, right? You're declaring something to be displayed on the screen. And then the other side is imperative. Imperative programming is essentially to give the machine a command, and that would modify state. And if we string these commands together, you're essentially building logic. And that logic is what allows us to build and invent new things. We put things together in a way that no one really had to build for us. We're using these basic primitives and building blocks to build these abstractions and to build something entirely new and custom. And that's the power of imperative programming. And then there's like something in between, right? You take something like React and you're declaring the components you want to display on the screen, or you're declaring even logical components. But if you want to do something like build a list or loop over some data or items, or you want to, do something completely custom, make something move around the screen in weird ways or interactive, you're going to need JavaScript and some code to make that happen. And that's mixing really declarative and imperative. And don't get me wrong, right? I think these tools allow people, non-technical people especially, to build websites. A lot of marketing websites are built using Webflow and tools like that, and of course Squarespace, and that's awesome. I think that's great. But I don't think that's a replacement for coding. I think that I've actually heard a lot of smart people say that, well, with this no-code movement, is it going to replace coding? And should you even need to learn to code or something like that? And I think that's crazy. I mean, I think that's actually harmful. Imagine someone who's kind of interested in learning to code, or they want to try and learn something new, but they're swayed away from it because of this concept of no code, right? I think that's fairly harmful. In fact, if anything, I think no code should be an on-ramp to, let's say, a low code environment where you can build things in a visual manner, but then you can write little snippets, right? Excel essentially allows you to do this. You can do all sorts of basic, sum and building charts and whatnot. But also you can write scripts in Excel and power the things behind it and do something fairly powerful that you can't do with just the controls that are presented in front of you on the display. Also, even things like Unity is also kind of like that, right? You can build up a scene and you can model it and set all sorts of properties on something and hit play and see what this scene does, which basically nothing until you actually go in and script it, right? You go in and create the glue that binds the logic, how entities move and interact in the world. And so that's what I would call more like a low code environment. And then that leads, of course, to your hardcore coding and your systems programming and the things that allow us to invent new things and bring new things into existence and into the world. I just don't think any of these are going to go away. I think we're going to see more along this spectrum. And as we build more abstractions and things get more powerful, so will these tools, right? I think programming languages are a good example of something that's becoming more powerful with more abstractions, with less code even. And so that's a good thing, right? It allows us to stand on the shoulders of giants and focus on building great software. And so I think my only point here is that, no code is not new, and it might be experiencing a spike in usage with some new tools that are created and made popular. But don't let that fool you, right? I think coding is becoming more accessible and easier for people to learn with channels like this and many other channels that can help you and help people, and it becomes a lot of fun to learn how to code. And a lot of people are building great things by just learning the basics even. Really, it just takes creativity. Of course, I might be biased, and I'm an engineer, and after all, this channel is called Always Be Coding, not Always Be No Coding, and that wouldn't quite have the same ring to it. Let me know what you think. If you've used these tools and you think that actually coding is becoming less important, make your case. I'd love to hear it. But in the meantime, ABC, always be coding. Happy Halloween, and please subscribe and click the notification button if you'd like more content like this. That's all you have to do. Otherwise, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think and other things you'd like for me to talk about. And see you next time.